All right, let's jump into a conversation that really got me thinking. We're diving into a dialogue between two researchers, Aki and Alfred, from the science fiction novel Evolution, Entropy, and the Algorithmic Brain.
And it's interesting because it's not just science fiction. They're touching on real scientific concepts that are really shaping the future of AI.
Exactly. And that leads to, I think, the core question. Can concepts like evolution and entropy help us understand how intelligence develops, like in humans and in the AI we're building? And what does it all mean for, all of us as we see AI becoming more intertwined with our lives?
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? What I found particularly fascinating was Aki, who's a robotics researcher, is super excited about this other researcher named Pramesh.
Okay.
And Pramesh has been working with this leading expert in their field named Minda, and they seem to have stumbled on something pretty groundbreaking.
The suspense is killing me. So Aki specifically mentions being interested in general AI. That kind of AI that's not just limited to one task. Like, it can learn and adapt in a more, human way. Do you think this research could be the key to that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The interesting thing is that Pramesh's work is all about this idea of computational evolution. So instead of designing algorithms by hand, he creates this system where algorithms compete and evolve solutions to problems.
So kind of like survival of the fittest, but for algorithms. The ones that do well get to reproduce and pass on their traits.
Precisely. But here's the challenge. How do you add the concept of development into these models? Our brains don't just magically appear fully formed, right? They develop over time through this super complex interplay of genes and environment. And that's what Pramesh is trying to simulate, that growth process.
Simulating how intelligence could grow instead of being programmed. That is a fascinating concept. Makes me think of all the buzz around developmental robotics these days. Is that what Pramesh is tapping into?
Absolutely. It's this whole new field that's exploding, exploring how intelligent systems could actually learn and develop like we do. The implications are huge, right? I mean, cracking this could totally revolutionize how we design and interact with AI in the future.
It makes you wonder, how far can we push this idea of, algorithmic growth? Think about DeepMind's AlphaZero, right? It mastered chess just by playing itself.
Yeah.
No human instruction needed.
AlphaZero is a perfect example. Its knowledge wasn't hard-coded. It learned through experience, through interaction. It was like the system was uncovering these fundamental strategic principles all on its own. And then they came out with MuZero, the next version, which doesn't even need to be told the rules of the game beforehand.
Whoa, wait, it figures out the rules and develops winning strategies just from playing. That's amazing.
Right. It really highlights the power of this kind of algorithmic learning and adaptation. No wonder Aki's drawing connections between this and what Pramesh is doing.
It all circles back to this fundamental question that Pramesh is asking.
Yeah.
How did brains, these incredibly complex information processing systems, how did they even arise from just the basic building blocks of the universe? How did the sun's energy lead to us?
A question that's puzzled scientists and philosophers for, forever. But what's cool is that Pramesh isn't settling for vague answers. He's searching for a fundamental principle that links the evolution of intelligence to the laws of physics themselves.
He's definitely aiming high. But I did notice Alfred seems a bit more cautious. He's like, maybe we just don't have all the pieces of the puzzle yet, right? Is there even a deeper principle at play?
Alfred's skepticism is a good reminder that we still have a lot to learn. Even with all our advancements in AI and our understanding of the brain, there's so much we don't know.
For sure. But Pramesh seems convinced there's a deeper connection between evolution and, wait for it, entropy. That's when things get really mind-bending.
Yeah, because at first glance, they seem to be completely opposite forces, right? Evolution creates order and complexity, while entropy dictates that disorder, or randomness, always increases in the universe.
Exactly. So how can both be true? And how does this even connect to the development of intelligence?
Well, first, we need to define our terms. So evolution is, as we know, this process where life forms change over generations, leading to more complexity and adaptation through natural selection. And then there's entropy, which is this measure of disorder or randomness in a system.
Okay, so how do those two seemingly opposite forces fit together? How can things be getting more complex and organized while the universe as a whole is becoming more disordered?
The key is that entropy applies to the whole universe, right? So even though evolution leads to more complexity in specific systems, it's balanced out by even more entropy elsewhere. Think of it this way. Even as humans build these amazing structures and technologies, we're also creating waste and heat, which add to the universe's overall disorder.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does this all tie back to intelligence? Pramesh seems to think that evolution basically stores energy as information.
That's where it gets really interesting. Pramesh is suggesting that intelligent systems, like brains, are like a highly ordered way to store energy. All the information in our DNA, the connections between neurons, all of that, it represents a way to organize energy that just wouldn't be possible in a completely random, chaotic system.
So the more complex a system is, the more information it stores and the more organized energy it contains. Are we basically walking bundles of organized energy, defying entropy with every thought we have?
You could think of it that way. But remember, even as we evolve and create order, we're still part of this larger entropic system. It's a delicate balance.
This is, wow, it's a lot to take in, but it's incredibly thought-provoking.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we go from here? What are the implications of all of this, especially as AI keeps advancing at this crazy pace?
Well, that's exactly what Aki and Alfred start grappling with next. They talk about superintelligence, the possibility of runaway technological advancement, and what this could mean for humanity as a whole.
Okay, now things are getting really interesting. We'll have to dive into all that in part 2. Okay, so we're back, diving deeper into this fascinating discussion about evolution, entropy, and what it all means for intelligence. Before we took a break, you mentioned that Aki and Alfred start to discuss some pretty big implications, like superintelligence and just how fast technology is advancing.
Right. Those are some of the big questions facing us as AI gets more sophisticated. Aki brings up these anxieties, that a lot of people have, like science fiction writers, even tech leaders like Elon Musk, about what happens when AI surpasses human intelligence, and especially when it starts evolving at an exponential rate. Like, could we even keep up?
It's a scary thought, for sure. And it's not even just about them being smarter than us. It's, will a superintelligent AI have the same values as humans? Would it care about our well-being?
Exactly. And it's a question worth exploring. If intelligence really is this product of evolution and information, as Pramesh suggests, could AI be like the next stage of that evolution?
Like, instead of natural selection guiding biological evolution, we're entering this era of artificial selection, where algorithms are evolving at an incredible pace.
It's a definite possibility. And the consequences, good and bad, are huge. I mean, it could lead to amazing advances in medicine, technology, just understanding the universe. But there are also risks, right? If we don't think carefully about how to align AI with human values and goals.
It's a double-edged sword, for sure. But before we get too lost in that, Aki lightens things up with a science fiction anecdote. He brings up the story of Trin Tragula and his Total Perspective Vortex.
Ugh, a classic from the world of sci-fi. It highlights what can happen when you lose perspective faced with the vastness of existence. Trin Tragula, who is this, obsessive scientist, he built this device called the Total Perspective Vortex to show people their place in the grand scheme of the universe. He used a piece of fairy cake to represent all of reality, just to give you an idea.
He really plugged someone into a machine that showed them the entire universe? That's pretty intense, even for science fiction.
It was. And, well, it didn't end well. The experience was so overwhelming, it basically fried the subject's brain.
Okay, so what's the point? Is Aki suggesting that trying to understand these big concepts like evolution and entropy and the nature of intelligence is pointless?
No, not necessarily. It's more of a cautionary tale. It's reminding us that, yes, grapple with the big ideas, but keep a sense of perspective, right? We can't lose sight of our own humanity when we're staring into these awe-inspiring concepts.
It's a tough balance. How do we explore these ideas without getting lost in the cosmic abyss? What does it all mean for us, the average listener? Most of us aren't robotics experts or, theoretical physicists. How do we even begin to wrap our heads around all of this?
That's a great question. And I think the key is that you don't need a PhD to engage with these ideas. Science, philosophy, they're open to anyone who's curious.
Absolutely. Curiosity is what drives discovery. We don't all need a total perspective vortex, but a little wonder can take us pretty far, right? It's about approaching these ideas with a sense of awe and humility. What do you think? Yeah, I love that. Wonder and humility. They're good company when you're exploring these mind-bending ideas. It's like we're standing on the edge of the unknown, looking out into this vastness of what we don't understand yet.
Right. And that's what this conversation is really inviting us to do, I think. Embrace that curiosity, ask the questions, and explore, but without losing sight of, our own place in it all.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's recap what we've uncovered. We explored this exciting world of developmental robotics and the potential for algorithms that can actually grow their knowledge, almost like biological brains do.
Yeah.
It really flips our traditional ideas about like how intelligence is built.
Yeah, we also tackle Pramesh's big question about how energy becomes information in the evolution of intelligence, which touches on this seemingly impossible relationship between evolution and entropy.
And of course, there's the story of Trintragula and his Total Perspective Vortex. It's funny, but it also reminds us to stay grounded, to keep a sense of perspective when we're dealing with these, well, kind of awesome concepts.
It's been quite a journey, but it's like just the beginning, right? There's so much more to uncover, so many more questions to ask, and that's what's so great about it.
I completely agree. These deep dives, they're not about giving you all the answers. They're about like sparking your curiosity, giving you the tools to keep exploring on your own. What stands out to you as the most intriguing part of all this?
For me, it's this idea intelligence as this process of organizing energy and information. It changes how we think about it, you know? It's not just a human thing, but maybe it's like this fundamental force in the universe. And that raises some big questions about the potential for intelligence beyond what we can even grasp right now.
That's a great point. If intelligence is a product of this dance between evolution and information, what does that mean for AI in the future? Could we see, like, artificial consciousness emerge? And what would that mean for humanity's place in the universe?
Those are questions we're going to have to keep asking as AI keeps developing. But I think the most important thing right now is to stay engaged, to keep asking these questions, and to, approach the unknown with that sense of wonder and a willingness to learn.
I think that's the perfect note to end on. If anything we talked about today got you thinking, I encourage you to dive in, read more, explore these ideas. Who knows what amazing discoveries are out there waiting. Until next time, keep that curiosity.